I want to ask you a question. Think about the last time you were at a party or a family gathering or any social occasion, and you felt underneath all the talking and the laughing a strange loneliness. Like there was a version of you watching from somewhere overhead, thinking, is this it? Is this what life is? That feeling, that specific human feeling of being simultaneously present and somehow absent from your own life, is what Mrs. Dalloway is about. Hello everyone, welcome to Hardika Reads. This is part 3. Today we are going to talk about what this novel means, its themes, its arguments, its questions. And I want to make the case that 100 years after it was written, Mrs. Dalloway might be the most urgently relevant novel you can read right now. Now, the central structural choice of Mrs. Dalloway is the parallel between Clarissa and Septimus. They never meet. They exist in completely different social worlds. She is upper-class Westminster, he's working-class veteran living in rented rooms. And yet Woolf mirrors them at every turn. Both are haunted by a great love from the past. Clarissa by Peter Walsh and Sally Seton, Septimus by his dead comrade Evans. A relationship Woolf suggests with great delicacy may have been a kind of love. Both are struggling with questions of identity. Who am I really beneath the surface I present to the world? Both have an acute, almost unbearable sensitivity to beauty and to pain. The difference is this: Clarissa has the resources, social, financial, emotional, to survive. She has a husband who loves her, a house, a party to plan, a role to play. She can channel her darkness into the effort of living. Septimus has nothing to cushion him. The war took his best friend and his sanity, and society has offered him Dr. Holmes and Sir William Bradshaw in return. Woolf is making an argument about privilege and mental health that is still dangerously relevant. The ability to keep going, to keep the darkness at bay, to function, these are not equally distributed. They depend enormously on circumstance, or whether you have money, or whether you have people who love you, or whether society has a place for you. Clarissa and Septimus are the same person, divided by fortune. Now, Mrs. Dalloway is one of the earliest major literary works to question the very concept of mental illness. Not to deny that suffering is real, but to ask, who decides what is sane, and in whose interest is that decision made? Septimus is classified as mad, but what does his madness consist of? He cannot stop thinking about the death of his friend. He cannot perform the social rituals of normal life. He sees beauty in things, the trees, the light, with an intensity that becomes overwhelming. He has a kind of visionary consciousness that the novel treats as genuine perception, even while acknowledging it as suffering. Meanwhile, Dr. Holmes and Sir William Bradshaw, the sane ones, the rational ones, the men with authority, they are portrayed as the truly sinister figures. Bradshaw's proportion is not health, it is control. It is the suppression of anything inconvenient, painful, or difficult. The patients don't get better, they get quieter. Virginia Woolf knew this from the inside. She had been institutionalized. She had been told that the solution to her darkness was rest, routine, no intellectual stimulation. The cure, in her experience, was often indistinguishable from the disease. Woolf wrote in a letter, "As an experience, madness is terrific, I can assure you, and not to be sniffed at. And in its lava I still find most of the things I write about." Her madness was also her source. The sensitivity that made her suffer was the same sensitivity that made her a genius. And the novel asks, in a world that values proportion and normality above all, what happens to those whose gifts came wrapped in suffering? The answer the novel gives is Septimus. They fall from windows. Moving on, talking about time, memory, and the self in the novel, one of the most formally radical things about Mrs. Dalloway is what it does with time. The novel covers one day, But psychologically, it covers 50 years because the characters are never only in the present. They are always also in the past, at Burton, in the war, in their childhoods, in their losses. Woolf's understanding of time owes something to the philosopher Henry Bergson, who argued that time as we experience it is fundamentally different from clock time. Clock time is linear, external, measurable, but psychological time, duration he called it, it's fluid, non-linear, continuous. The past is not gone, it is present in memory shaping every moment of the now. Mrs. Dalloway dramatizes this beautifully. When Clarissa thinks of Peter Walsh, he is not in the past, he is present. When Septimus sees Evans, Evans is not a ghost, he is there in some dimension of consciousness that exists alongside the visible world. And this is why Big Ben matters so much in the novel. Big Ben chimes throughout the day, marking time, marking hours, marking the structure of ordinary clock life. And every time it chimes, Woolf writes, "The leaden circles dissolved in the air." The leaden circles dissolve. Clock time announces itself and then disappears, swallowed by the endlessly flowing river of consciousness. You can measure time all you like, but the self lives elsewhere, in a different kind of time entirely. A time made of memory and sensation and the voices of the dead. Now let's talk about the party, the art as an act of love. One of the most misunderstood things about Mrs. Dalloway is the party. It's easy to read it as shallow, rich people gathering to show off their social connections while a veteran kills himself across town. But Woolf intends the party as something far more complex than that. At one point, Clarissa reflects on why she gives parties at all. I'm quoting from the novel. "For nothing was so strange when you came to think of it. Nothing was so strange as this. For she had a theory in those days. They had heaps of theories, always theories as young people have. But she said, sitting on the bus, she felt herself everywhere." And later, "An offering for the sake of offering, perhaps. Anyhow, it was her gift. Nothing else had she of the slightest importance, could not think, write, even play the piano. She muddled Armenians and Turks, loved success, hated discomfort. And it was an offering to combine, to create. But to whom? An offering for the sake of offering, perhaps." The party is Clarissa's art form. She cannot write novels or paint pictures or compose music. But she can create a room and atmosphere, a moment where people come together and for one evening feel less alone. The party is an attempt to combat the fundamental isolation of human consciousness, the unbridgeable privacy of each individual soul. Is it enough? Is it a substitute for living more deeply, more honestly? These are the questions Peter Walsh would ask, and the novel holds them in tension without resolving them. Woolf does not mock Clarissa's parties. She honors them as a genuine, if imperfect, if limited, act of creation and connection. There's a profound democratic generosity in this. Woolf is saying the forms of artistry available to women trapped in social roles are not lesser than the forms available to men. They are different, but they are real. Now let's talk about the body and illness. Clarissa has been ill. There's a moment of influenza, of a heart condition. She's 52 and already moving into the shadow of bodily decline. She sleeps in a narrow attic bed away from Richard. Her sexuality, once fierce, expressed in a passionate feeling for Sally Seton, has dimmed, contracted. The body in this novel is not incidental. It is where the war lives. Septimus's trauma is not just in his mind, it is in his hands which tremble, in his inability to feel, in the strange numbness the novel describes. He could not feel. When he tells Razia that he cannot feel, she is devastated, because feeling love, grief, joy, fear is the proof that we are still alive. The war did not only kill the soldiers who died in it, it killed feeling in many of those who survived. Virginia Woolf wrote extensively in her diaries about her own relationship to her body during periods of illness. The way illness can be both a prison and a strange kind of clarity. When you are sick enough, the constant social performance of selfhood becomes impossible. You have only what is real. Septimus, in his madness, is stripped to what is real. He cannot perform wellness. And that inability, which the doctors call illness, may also be the only authentic thing left in him. And let's talk about another theme, gender and freedom. Running through the entire novel is a quiet, sustained critique of what the social order does to women. Clarissa was told by Peter Walsh that she was the perfect hostess. He meant it as a critique. She cried over it, and she never forgot it, because part of her knew he was right, and part of her refused to accept that this was all she was. She chose Richard over Peter. She chose stability over passion. She chose the manageable life over the consuming one. Was that freedom or confinement? The novel refuses to decide. Meanwhile, Miss Kilman, Clarissa's daughter's teacher, fervent, religious, poor, intellectual, is Clarissa's dark double. Where Clarissa is beautiful and socially graceful, Kilman is ungainly and awkward. Where Clarissa entertains, Kilman prays. They hate each other with a precise and illuminating hatred, because each sees in the other a life she has not chosen and wonders. And then there is Sally Seton, wild, brilliant, free-spirited Sally, who once said outrageous things and kissed Clarissa in the garden at Burton, and who is now, at the end of the novel, Lady Rosetta, the mother of 5 boys, married to a cotton mill owner. Sally became conventional too. The wildness was tamed. These women, Clarissa, Miss Kilman, Sally, Razia, all navigate a world that has very specific ideas about what women should be and do. None of them entirely fits. All of them pay a price for the choices they have made. Woolf doesn't tell you who made the right choice. She shows you all of them in their full complexity and trusts you to feel the cost. Moving on, let's talk about civilization and its discontents. Sigmund Freud published Civilization and its Discontents in 1929, just 4 years after Mrs. Dalloway. In it, he argued that civilization is built on repression. The individual must sacrifice instinct, desire, and authentic feeling in order to participate in the social order. The cost of civilization is neurosis. Woolf got there first. The entire structure of Mrs. Dalloway is about what civilization costs. It costs Clarissa her relationship with Peter, her relationship with Sally, her full sexuality. It costs Septimus his mind. It cost Razia her home and her happiness. It costs Richard the ability to simply say to his wife, "I love you." He holds her hand, he brings her roses, but the words, he cannot say the words. And what does civilization offer in return? Garden parties, lunch at Lady Bruton's, the king at the palace, Westminster, respectability. Woolf is not saying that civilization is worthless. She loves London genuinely with something like ecstasy. She loves the brass bands and the motor cars and the June morning. But she refuses to pretend that the beauty is free. Someone pays for it, and in this novel, Septimus pays for it. Septimus, who loved beauty, who loved Evans, who went to war because his country asked him to, who came back shattered. He pays the price for all the parties. Now, why does this novel still matter? Let me bring this home. Why are we still reading Mrs. Dalloway, a novel about a wealthy English woman throwing a dinner party in 1923? Because it is about what it costs to be alive. We live in a world that is very good at the surface, at the Instagram version of life, the curated self, the performance of wellness and success. We are all, in our way, giving parties. We are all arranging flowers and choosing the right dress and hoping people will look pleased when we walk in. And underneath, as Woolf knew, as she never stopped knowing, there is something much more fragile. There's the feeling of being out, far out to sea and alone. There's the danger in living even one day. There are the people we pass on the street who are carrying wars inside them that we cannot see. Mrs. Dalloway asks us to see them. to let the stranger's death be our disaster, to understand that the party and the fall from the window are not separate worlds, they are the same world, and the membrane between them is thinner than we like to think. The novel also gives us Clarissa's answer. Imperfect, partial, human, to the terror of being alive. Keep going. Buy the flowers, give the party, hold the moment. Because even in a world where wars happen and people are broken and time passes and everyone you love will die, it is still somehow enough. The taxi cabs, the June morning, this moment. Woolf did not find this answer sufficient in the end. She put stones in her pockets, but she gave it to us first, in Clarissa Dalloway, this fragile, complex, beautiful woman who loves life with ferocity that breaks your heart precisely because she always knows how easily it can be taken away. If you have watched all 3 parts, thank you. Mrs. Dalloway is not an easy novel, but it is a generous one. Every sentence rewards attention. Every character deserves your compassion. My recommendation, read it slowly. Let it wash over you. Don't worry about understanding it all at once. Let Clarissa's voice settle into you like music. Let Septimus's visions disturb you. Let the laden circles dissolve in the air. And the next time you are at a party, standing in a beautiful room, surrounded by people, and you feel that strange vertigo of, is this real? Is this enough? Remember that Virginia Woolf felt it too. She put it into words so that you would know you're not alone. What a lark, what a plunge. Thank you for watching. If this series helped you, please subscribe and share it with someone who loves literature. And tell me in the comments what moment in Mrs. Dalloway hit you the hardest.